It would outperform the Sabre in terms of climb with fairly similar level speed, but very much better acceleration. But it was a very strong, a very thorough evaluation with the aircraft in the roles of interceptor fighter and ground attack. And it had to be capable of maneuvering in the confines of the Meiringen Valley to prove it had the necessary maneuverability to cope with the mountainous terrain. That evaluation did immense amount of good, because in parallel with the American evaluation, which resulted in the airplane selling offshore to countries like Belgium and Denmark and the Netherlands, it also stamped the aircraft, and the Middle East bought it in quantity.
The first Hunter Mark 58s out of a batch of 100 were delivered in April 58, serial number J4001 to J4100. The Swiss Air Force, like the Swiss Army, is organized to make maximum use of the strategic advantages of the mountains. A number of airfields are implanted in the Alps, using hangars blasted out of the rocks. During a scramble, the aeroplane is pulled out of the shelter and the engine is started during the tow. The pilots of the Fliegertruppe are trained in tactical use of relief. Flying in the mountains is extremely difficult and dangerous, but for a pilot who knows what he's doing, it offers a number of important advantages. When carrying out a ground attack, for instance, it's possible to pop up from behind a mountain at the very last moment, deliver the ammunition, and disappear behind another one before the enemy troops have had time to return fire, or before guided surface-to-air missiles can get a good lock on. Apart from selling 100 aeroplanes, the Swiss evaluation had another important effect on the Hunter program. During the tests, it was noticed that the aeroplane performed extremely well in the ground attack role, for which it had never been designed. Its powerful cannon, its large wing area, its high thrust, its agility, its sturdiness, everything about the Hunter seemed to be designed in for this kind of mission.
Miro 2, risultat 4. Bambini casa riparo, mit Granada. Casa 1.
In 1958, the RAF wanted a new ground attack aircraft to replace its Venoms in the Middle East. The original idea was to buy a small, cheap aircraft, such as the Gnat or the Jet Provost. Against all the odds, it was the Hunter that won an evaluation at Aden, which resulted in the acquisition of 102 F-6 Hunters. After some minor modifications optimizing the F-6 for ground attack in a hot climate, the FGA-9 was born. By fitting the FGA-9 with a camera nose, it became the FR-10 rigs that were used to build new Hunters, and while some of the employees were working on the production of the Harrier, others were carrying out the first phases of the refurbishing of the Hunter. Final assembly was done in Switzerland at the Federal Aircraft Factory at Emmen. The Mark 58A is more than an old F-6. The aeroplane was upgraded with new electronic systems and the engine was also changed. The Mark 58A is now powered by the Avon Mark 207, which is a high modification standard of the original 203. After assembly, the functioning of each part is tested. From the flaps and landing gear down to the smallest detail, everything has to be in perfect working order before the aircraft takes to the sky. The engine is started and checks are made to ensure that it's functioning well. A healthy Avon 207 delivers 10,000 pounds of static thrust at 8,000 RPM. Finally, the Hunter makes its maiden flight after refurbishing, and the test pilot puts it through a number of maneuvers that should reveal possible deficiencies. If no defects are found, the Hunter receives its final camouflage finish and is handed over to the squadron. During the Hunter 80 program that started in 1982, the Swiss Hunters were upgraded to face modern electronic warfare. The aeroplanes were fitted with flare chaff dispensers and RWR, and in addition to the Sidewinder, they're now fitted with provisions to fire the Maverick air-to-surface guided missile. As a result, the Swiss Hunters can't be looked at as old aeroplanes, not even by modern standards, and they'll probably still be operational in the next century. These shots were taken on 14th of November 1991 during Operation Strada 91. A number of sections of Swiss motorway have been planned from the outset to be used as emergency runways for military jets. In case of war, when airfields are damaged because of enemy action, these sections can be made operational airfields in the delay of a couple of hours. In November 91, this section of the N2 near Lodrino was used for the first time. These exercises are not only meant as a training for the pilots who have to land their aircraft in between obstacles such as trees, high-tension wires or bridges. It's also an exercise for the ground troops that have to protect the airfield against enemy attack, and the technicians too are trained in maintaining, refueling and arming the aircraft under exceptional circumstances. During Strada 91, 580 soldiers and 70 civilians were employed. 130 tons of road signs, crash barriers and the like had to be removed. 4 units of radar-guided AAA cannons were installed. 25 tons of material used for communication, maintenance and armament had to be transported. Only 6 hours after the traffic had been derouted, the first Hunters and F-5 Tigers landed on the motorway, and 2 hours after the last jet had taken off, the road was reopened. This is number 11 Squadron, the Patrouille de Suisse. Since 1970, this aerobatic team can be seen at the major air shows throughout Europe, demonstrating the capabilities of the Swiss pilots. But above anything else, this team pays tribute to the flying characteristics and the elegant lines of the Hunter. Some say this aeroplane is the best fighter ever. That's probably an overstatement, but most certainly the Hunter is a pure thoroughbred that's taught a great many pilots how beautiful flying can be.